Yes. Is it any worse? No.
Right.
I think on some songs, it actually helps him.
Yeah.
In some ways, the album sounds kind of rushed. It sounds like he's taking some shortcuts.
Yep.
Like, I think like 3 of the songs are under 3 minutes long.
Yeah.
And, like the first song and the last song.
Yeah.
They're basically kind of the same in terms of music.
Yeah.
I mean, like you said, there's nothing new here.
Right.
I mean, if you don't like Sam,
yeah.
this album isn't going to convert you.
No.
I will say he does what he normally does well on this album.
Right.
I think it's one of his better albums.
Right.
Admittedly, I haven't listened to it for even a week yet because it's only been out for less than a week.
Right.
So I would say ask me in a few months if the honeymoon is over. And it's just another, Sam album where I'm like, yeah, okay, I like it, but I'm really only going to break it out maybe once or twice a year.
Yeah.
Which I'm like with like a lot of Sam albums.
Right.
Because there's really only like 3 or 4 songs that I really like on the album.
Yeah.
I mean, Sam even goes for Chicken Foot. Like, I like Chicken Foot, but it's not a go-to album for me. Either one of them.
Right.
They're not bad.
Right.
They're just not great.
Right.
I will say that this album, there's a lot of deja vu in this album.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Yep.
In that a lot of the songs remind me of a lot of songs that have come before.
In fact, there is one that reminds me of deja vu.
Oh, is that? Okay. Well, then that's where you go.
I'll note that later, yeah.
Oh, okay. So I will say that that's not necessarily a bad thing.
No.
I mean, after I've listened to this album, I start going, well, this song reminds me of this, and that song reminds me of that, and that. But that's not necessarily a bad thing because, and I was trying to think of other albums that are where that's happened.
Yeah.
And I thought of a couple of examples. And since I can't do a podcast without doing a Sam versus Dave thing, one album that comes to mind is David Lee Roth's A Little Ain't Enough.
Right. Okay.
There's a few songs on that album that definitely remind me of other songs. I don't think that was by design. I think that was by accident.
Right.
Whereas Sam, I think, is really doing it on purpose. The other album it kind of reminds me of along that vein is by your good yachting buddy, Billy Joel. Which would be his Innocent Man album.
Okay.
That album on purpose does a lot of references to older songs. Like, for instance, like The Longest Time. That's obviously a throwback to the 50s and 60s.
Frankie Valli.
And the doo-wop songs and Frankie Valli. Exactly.
Yeah.
And all that stuff. But, I mean, he did that on purpose.
Oh, absolutely.
So, right? I mean,
fully admits it. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. And absolutely. That whole... I mean, not the whole album, but most of the album is a celebration of music past.
Yep.
And I think that's also what Sammy is doing here. So it's not bad. It's not entirely original, but hey, at this point, I'm not looking for original.
Yeah.
I'm looking for a well-executed Sammy Hagar album.
Yeah.
Which is what he does here.
Yeah, definitely. And we'll get into it song by song, starting with Devil Came to Philly, which starts off the album. It's a good opener. I guess it's sort of an intro more than it is a song. Dave touched on this on his description. The song sort of gets going and it's got a nice intro and...
Well, the devil came to Philly, all mean and green, with bags of gold and silver, busting out the seams. He never told us anything, but we all did what he said, with a brand new concept, and now we pay to play. Hey, 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 hey.
And then all of a sudden, it just sort of, you're waiting for something to take off, and the song's over. So that's
right.
Yeah. You know, he says here, now we pay to play and all these different things. I don't know if he's talking about the government there. It gets all revved up. He starts with the hey, this and that, and which begins and ends the album with the hey. And the album really kicks off, and just as you're getting into it, it ends. And you're like, oh. Okay, so now because it's quote-unquote a concept album, you're like, all right, maybe that's just like a little intro, right? So then we get into the next song, but let me get your taste on this, Dave. What did you make of Devil Came to Philly?
Yeah, I agree with you. It's almost like an introduction.
Yeah.
Because by the time the song is a song,
right.
The song is over.
I know.
So it's really not, and that's what I was alluding to with kind of like he was kind of taking some shortcuts or whatever. It's almost like barely a song.
Right.
It's just an introduction.
Right.
And yeah, he doesn't really kick into it until the next song, Chump Change.
Right.
And that's when it starts kicking in.
Right. That's when it starts kicking in. But then here's the weird thing about Chump Change. So the song is called Full Circle Jam, quote, Chump Change, close quote. I don't know why they just call it Chump Change, why he felt the need to call it Full Circle Jam. I have no idea. But it's got a bluesy vibe. It's got almost like a little ZZ Top flavor in there. I don't know why it needs the two titles, but it's got a nice kind of romp to it. The band sounds amazing on it. They sound fantastic on it. They're tight. They sound great. So now you're like, okay, great. And the whole song feels like it's simmering. It's just building and it's simmering, and Vic is kind of playing back and forth guitar here with Sam, right, Dave? That I would imagine. I don't have the lyrical book that notes, but it seems like Sammy's playing guitar with Vic, right?
Yeah, especially towards the end when you hear the slide guitar, that's definitely gotta be Sam.
Oh, yeah, totally, yeah. So now, here's the thing. This one ends short, and you're kind of like, oh, but I do like this song. I love the Chump Change, and believe it or not, I know this sounds strange to say, but these little hooks do stick with you, and I find myself humming them all the time. But the long fade at the end really alludes to a much longer track. You almost get the feeling that there's a lot more to that song, and they edited it. And you're like, okay, so now we got two starts. You know what I mean? One's kind of an announcement, the hey, we're kind of, you could almost get the feeling with Devil Came to Philly, all right, we're starting something's about to we're about to launch into. Chump Changes gets us in the mode, the engine is revving, After a while, you're getting all built up and you wonder what the fuck's gonna happen. So, did you feel like that about Chump Change as well?
Yeah, although I will say that I think that's where the jam part of the title comes in, because you could definitely tell that the song keeps going.
Right, but it's a weird place to jam it. We're just starting the album.
No, that's true.
Yeah.
And I will say that in one way you wish there was more, but in another way, it probably was a good idea they cut it where they did.
Right.
Because it could have been too much of a good thing.
Right, I know.
I tell you, when I heard the song and I was humming it to myself, I started humming right into Radar Love, because that drum beat in that song, definitely, right? Yep. Definitely has a Radar Love vibe.
Totally. Absolutely.
So that was my first sense of my Dionne Warwick deja vu that I was experiencing. But yeah, I think it's one of the highlights of the album.
Yeah.
One of my favorite songs.
Right. Finally, we get into the third song, Can Hang, and this is the fully realized song, and this is a really good song. This could be one of Sammy's finest tunes. He's got a real swagger to it, and there's a bit of a country flavor to this song. It talks about warning someone who can't handle the heat. The chorus stays with you. It's very catchy. Mike comes in with some really nice background vocals. I like Can Hang, 'cause you can't hang. And Mike comes back in. It reminds me of a Van Hagar song. It's got that kind of, the chorus especially, has some sort of I'm going to say a OU812 era vibe to it. What do you think?
This is the song where you really appreciate Sam's later life voice. You can hear the grit in his voice.
Yep.
Michael Anthony certainly helps with the background vocals. I don't like the song as much as you do.
Okay.
I think it's good.
Okay.
But I don't think it's great.
Okay.
This is the song that started out with the drums from When the Levee Breaks.
Oh,
To be
right.
honest,
yeah.
To be honest, if I hadn't read about that or heard Sam talk about that,
I wouldn't even
have
realize
made
it.
that. Right, exactly.
Yeah.
I would not have made
Right.
that connection.
Right.
I think it's a little more bluesy than country.
Oh, okay.
You can kind of sort of hear maybe a Led Zepp vibe in there, but it wouldn't have been the first thing I thought of unless I heard these guys talk about it. It's a good song, but it's not one of my favorites off the album.
Yeah. Okay. All right. That's cool. It was considered what, Dave? The second single, right? I mean,
yes.
it's sort of
I think about it. Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Right.
Second single.
So now we get to the fourth song. I think this is the most commercial song on the album in terms of this could be a crossover hit. It's called Wide Open Space. This has got like almost like an Eagles Fly vibe to it. It's very expansive, has a broad appeal, acoustic vibe, but still graduates into a very big anthem. It shows Hagar's maturity as a songwriter. Again, I find, in my opinion, that there's a little country flavor in there, and I feel this could also be a very strong potential single. What do you think of this one?
I think it could have been a single like 20, 30 years ago.
Okay.
I mean, I don't know how well it would do now.
Right, no, I know.
But yeah, it definitely has that vibe, that single material. And I'll tell you, the genius part of the song is Sammy singing it by himself. And then when the chorus comes in with Mike singing.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
Golden.
Golden. It's like watching the sunrise.
No, it is. I tell you.
It does.
When that chorus kicks in and he starts singing, and you were talking about hearing that, you definitely get the visual of that wide open space.
Right.
And that sunrise and the whole thing. I mean, when I heard the song for the first time, I was like, yeah, that's why Mike's on the album.
Right. Oh, yeah.
I mean, really, right that moment. So,
right.
And it's just a little slightly country. Just a little.
It does, just a little flavor, yeah.
Right, just a little flavor. In fact, the song could almost be on the album he did a few years ago. I can't remember the name of it. It's him sitting in the sand on the cover.
Yeah, hold on. Living It Up.
Right, thank you.
Yeah,
Living It Up.
Yeah,
it almost has that that acoustic Living It Up vibe
absolutely.
where he went a little country there.
Yep, absolutely.
Right?
Yeah,
so
that's for sure.
but now we're on the fourth song of the album.
Right.
And it really hasn't kicked in yet.
Right.
Except for the second song, Chump Change.
Right.
Like there's a slight build up on the first song, but before you know it, it's over.
Right.
It's kind of like being intimate with you, Dave, but I digress.
Oh, he got me back. You got me back.
Throw that in there.
You got me back. Oh, that was a quick jab to the side. Oh, right, my kidneys are killing me.
And then you get to the second song, which is Chump Change.
Yep.
Which is rocking.
Right.
And then you get to the third song.
Right.
Which is acoustic.
Right.
It's kind of like mid-vibe. And then you get to the fourth one, which is kind of ballady, but big, nice, epic, right?
Right.
And you're kind of like, and we'll get to the next song when it really kicks in.
Right.
But by this time, you're like, well, is he going to start rocking yet? Because he's really only done that once out of 4 times. So it takes the album a little while to
It does.
kick in.
It really does. And by the time you turn around, you're in the middle of the album. And
That's
here,
right.
Right, here we are. We're in the middle of the album. It's the 5th song. It's Free Man. Now, this is probably the hardest rocking song of the album, and this is a great song. This is a crunchy rocker with a really awesome, crunchy, strong riff. There's no fancy guitar work. It just has some real thick riffs going.
Give me back my money. Give me back my land. Give me back my bullets. I wanna be a free man.
The band sounds badass here. They really do. There's the refrain, give me back my money, give me back my land, give me